Yo, shout out to all the 12-year-olds in the building. What's up?
I study rap battles for a living.
Lobbies and Gentlegrams, 12 years ago today may remain the day that strained the clay-made soft simping sexy red stunt double. Kendrick's Controlverse came out on this day in 2013, and in 2025 the greatest rapper alive has Lobby suing his record label like the Clips did Jive in 2005. But this time it's on a much bigger plot to connive, cause the Canadian courthouse Karen clown is trying to shut any PDF rumor down while also trying to show it was a battle he won. Cause Kendrick isn't the true father of his son? Family Matters is where these crazy accusations begun. That was the night Drake's reputation had been done, but has round 2 just begun? And will this lawsuit make every narrative spun? Will this lawsuit really show that it was Dave Free's son? Let's break it all down, the full thing front to back, but first hit that like and subscribe button with a smack. Now, Lobbies and Gentlegrams, this is freaking wild, okay? This adds a whole new layer onto the question that tons of us have been asking. Why did Drake actually file this lawsuit? Obviously, it makes him look horrible. You lost a rap battle so bad that you have to sue over the diss song that put your career in a Canadian casket?
I study rap battles for a living.
Most of us thought, okay, he's trying to sue because if he wins against UMG, they'll let him out of his contract and he can go on to get a bigger record deal for his albums in the future. Other people thought that Drake wanted to expose all the fake streams and the bots that were going on in the music industry. But none of these theories made sense because A, why would Drake sue the record label he's trying to get out of a contract with without demanding in the lawsuit that the form of repayment that he wants is to be freed from this record label that was trying to defame him, allegedly? And B, why would he concoct this lawsuit with the objective of exposing bots and fake streams within the music industry when we know Drake has been the main beneficiary of these tactics with his music in the past? Spotify users were demanding refunds because Drake's Scorpion album in 2018 was plastered onto so many different playlists that it didn't belong onto, all to boost its streaming numbers. If Drake was trying to expose Kendrick for using payola, UMG can flip it all around and say, Drake, the same tactics we used on Kendrick Lamar, we also used on you. So, what was Drake's main goal with this lawsuit? What did he want to gain from it? In leaked DM messages, Drake had told someone that his plan with this lawsuit was to expose the shady business of the music industry and to make it a safer space for artists in the future. But that doesn't make sense because A, with this lawsuit, you're compromising free speech for diss records and just song lyrics in general in the future. And B, the whole making this a safer space for artists in the future, that could relate to the botting and the fake streams, right? Because if big record labels are able to put fake streams on their artists' music, then it hurts independent artists who don't have the budget to put fake streams on their songs. That I understand. But the main point of this lawsuit is not that UMG used shady promotional tactics to spread this song all across the world. The main basis of this lawsuit is the fact that UMG simply released the song in the first place. So in that case, when Drake says he's making this a safer space for artists in the future, what he means is it's going to be a safer space because record labels will have to be more strict than ever on the type of music and lyrics that they actually release because they'll be scared of getting sued for defamation in the future. That doesn't make this space safer for artists. That makes this space safer for record labels because now they could enforce stricter policies on what music they actually release. But with this brand new document that Drake's legal team has just released, where they are requesting tons of information from UMG, including all discussions UMG had with Kendrick and Dave Free about Kendrick's children, it exposes a whole new layer of what Drake is really trying to gain out of this lawsuit, and it's a lot more disgusting than we thought. Drake is trying to show the world through the information that's released within this lawsuit that the accusations he made against Kendrick Lamar in the battle were actually factual, and that the accusations Kendrick made about him were false. He wants to show the world, look, I was telling the truth when I said that Kendrick abused Whitney or that Dave Free was actually the father of this child that the world thought was Kendrick's. Meanwhile, he was lying about me when he called me a PDF and not like us. So if you thought it was disgusting that Drake was requesting Kendrick Lamar's recording contract with UMG, stick around because the rest of the new documents that Drake is requesting are a lot more disgusting and invasive.
I study rap battles for a living.
But if you're thinking this is some big red button that UMG was not expecting, think again, because months ago they actually sent a letter to the judge where they requested that any documents that the judge allows Drake's lawyers to take from UMG have to remain confidential, meaning that the public likely won't have access to see whatever gets exposed in this lawsuit. All of Kendrick's recording contracts, the promotional tactics they used to boost the numbers of Not Like Us, or now with this new document that Drake filed, the public won't be able to see, if the judge grants access to this, any communication between Dave Free and Kendrick about Kendrick's children. UMG months ago had cited the court's model protective order, and they said the reason for this alteration is that the parties agree that this case is likely to involve the production of highly confidential or proprietary business information like undisclosed contracts and information that regards people who aren't actually involved in this lawsuit. And the disclosure of all this information would cause significant harm to UMG, to Drake, and to all the parties who aren't even involved in the lawsuit. UMG agrees to hand over any documents that the judge says Drake's team is allowed to collect, but it's on the basis that it stays between the court. It doesn't get released to the public. But let's take a look at everything Drake is requesting. He released a 76-page document requesting 70 plus pieces of information, including not only information relating to Kendrick's children, but also any info about Drake's past and if there was any criminal acts associated with it, and even the email and contact of Screwface John, the YouTuber. Dope channel, by the way. So let's dive into this whole document. Now, because they're requesting a bunch of things and because this, legal documentation can use some very fancy language, they clarify a few things which will be important for you guys to understand what they're referring to as we go through this piece by piece. So, number one, when they say the word communication, they don't just mean UMG actually verbally communicating with different entities. What they mean is communication is any type of contact or way of sharing information, whether it's in writing, electronically, in person, over the phone. It includes letters, emails, texts, instant messages, DMs, voicemails, social media posts, likes, shares, comments, or any other way of interacting on social media. So that's any type of way of sharing information. Meanwhile, the word document, when they use that, it means anything that simply contains information. So any email, any social media post, text message, internet browsing history, stuff they shared on their social media or to other people in the DMs, anything that they bookmarked on their social media, so like any post that they saved. Basically, Drake wants any form of trace or history that anyone associated in this lawsuit has had with UMG, whether it's online or physically in person. And when they say social media, they're talking about everything from Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Telegram, so even the decrypted stuff, and a lot more. The word payola also comes up a lot in this lawsuit. So payola, by definition, refers to the illegal practice of secretly paying for radio plays or other promotion, which is banned under US law. Secretly paying for extra spins, essentially. Now, it's also important to note that in Drake's actual lawsuit, a lot of the allegations he makes, he prefaces them by saying this is all upon information and belief. He's not actually stating specific sources. He's saying that we have a reason to believe UMG did XYZ. And because of that, now Drake's legal team is requesting a bunch of these documents from the judge so they can sort through them and see, how to build their case going forward. Like, Kendrick's kid wasn't really his, so that helps our lawsuit because it shows that Drake wasn't defaming Kendrick. He was, telling the truth about Kendrick's family issues. That's why out of the 70 plus things that Drake's legal team is requesting here, these are not things that Drake's legal team is specifically stating. We have proof that Kendrick's kid wasn't really his, or we have proof that Kendrick and UMG used bots on Not Like Us. They're saying, give us the documents that can help us prove that UMG used bots on the song, or that the allegations Drake made about Kendrick were actually true in Family Matters, XYZ. And that's why in this new document it says, if you have nothing, no information relating to the documents we're requesting, then you have to clearly state that you have nothing. Again, showing that Drake's legal team here is not saying we know you have documents where you were talking to Screwface about plans to conspire against Drake. They're just saying we want to see all your communications with Screwface, with Dave Free, with XYZ to help us build our case. Now, certain documents that they request do span back to years ago, like Kendrick's recording contract with UMG, for example, because that wasn't signed in 2024 when the beef happened. But unless they specify a certain date, most of the documents that they're requesting are all information that happened starting from March 26, 2024, all the way up until today. It's important to note, March 26, 2024, I believe that was the day Like That with Future and Metro Boomin and Kendrick was released, the song that really kicked off this entire battle. So Drake wants to see what UMG's plan has been with Kendrick's team since that day. So the moment you've all been waiting for, let's start with Exhibit A of the first 18 documents that Lobby's legal team is requesting from UMG.
I study rap battles for a living. I study rap battles for a living.
So the first document that they're requesting is all contracts or agreements that UMG has with Kendrick Lamar, his agents, or anyone working for him, especially anything that shows their right to approve, reject, edit, or block the release of his music videos, or other content. Basically, they're trying to show that in Kendrick's contract, there's clear statements by UMG that emphasize that they had the right to reject or block any specific songs or music videos of Kendrick's from releasing on the label. Because again, he's suing them for not just promoting the song, but actually releasing it. Drake claims the song defames him, so he wants to see Kendrick's contract to show the judge, hey, look, there's something clearly here stated that if UMG believes this music or music video could be problematic, they had the right all along to block it from being released. The second piece of information that they're requesting is all documents or communications about UMG's approval or permission to release Not Like Us, the cover art for Not Like Us, and its music video. So basically showing that they did in fact approve to release it. Then they want all communications involving Ramon Alvarez Smickle about the song, cover art, music video, or the promotion of any Kendrick Lamar music. Ramon, and sorry for mispronouncing his name, he is the head of digital marketing at Interscope Records. If you look at his Instagram, it contains the cover art to Playboi Carti's latest project. I believe he works pretty closely with Playboi Carti, and of course we know Drake had a couple songs that were supposed to release with Playboi Carti, and they all got cancelled. Meanwhile, Kendrick was on 3 different songs on that new Playboi Carti project. Interscope is a record label under UMG, the same one that is licensing Kendrick Lamar and all of PG Lang's music. So Drake's legal team wants to see any discussions that UMG had with this specific guy who's the head of digital marketing at Interscope about not just the release of Kendrick's song Not Like Us, but any Kendrick Lamar music in general. They're also requesting all documents and communications about payments or reimbursements of marketing funds that were given for Kendrick Lamar or anyone working with him, including Anthony Saleh. Now, Anthony Saleh is someone who works closely with Kendrick, and if you guys remember a couple of videos back, I talked about how Akademiks actually appeared at the Kendrick Lamar GNX show, and he was confronted by Anthony Saleh, and Anthony Saleh called him out because last year Akademiks had this random anonymous guy on his stream who had claimed that Anthony Saleh paid him to put fake bots, fake streams on Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us song when it first released. Anthony Saleh said, yo, why would you have this random kid who's full of crap on your stream making up lies about me? Now I'm a part of this Drake lawsuit, and the US government has tried to subpoena my cell phone. AKA Anthony Saleh had to give up his cell phone for the government to go through as evidence in this lawsuit because he was tied to this fake claim about botted streams. Drake had actually removed that specific source and allegation from his lawsuit, the source of that academic stream where the kid went on and said Anthony Saleh paid him to bot Not Like Us, because in the end, that guy, that anonymous guy, showed a screenshot of an LLC that he had received money from for the botted streams of Not Like Us, and it ended up being something like Anthony Saleh LLC. That LLC does not exist. And Akademiks had even said that he spoke to people very high up at Spotify and they said this kid was full of crap. So Drake ended up removing that allegation, that specific source, from his lawsuit, but now he's still trying to retrieve all documents and communications from UMG to Anthony Saleh about payments or reimbursements of marketing dollars for Kendrick Lamar's music. Drake also wants all documents and communications about any accusations, complaints, or reports that UMG received about payola, aka illegal paid promotion, that involved Kendrick Lamar's music. So anytime that UMG had heard that Kendrick's marketing team was using payola to boost the success of Not Like Us, UMG needs to bring that forward. He also wants any documents or communications about anything UMG did or considered doing regarding copyright restrictions for Not Like Us, including changing, removing, or suspending them. What he's talking about here is in his lawsuit, Drake was attacking UMG for whitelisting the copyright of Not Like Us so that reactors can react to the song and keep the money from their videos, their reaction videos. Usually, if a reactor is reacting to a song, whoever owns the copyright to that song is going to take the profits of that reaction video. But in the case of Not Like Us, they whitelisted the song for the first week of its release, aka they let all the reactors make the money off of their reaction videos to Not Like Us, which in sense helped incentivize more reactors to watch the song on their YouTube page, review it, etc., talk about it more. Drake is saying that was wrong. I would say that was the most innovative thing we have seen a record label, a major one nonetheless, do to bridge the gap, accept and incorporate this new age of reactors, streamers, and music reviewing content creators into the mold of the industry. Drake doesn't like it because it was used against him. And now he wants any sort of document or communication that UMG had internally about their initiatives to lift the copyright restrictions on Not Like Us in particular. He also wants all documents and communications about the Grammy Awards this year that were connected to Not Like Us. And this includes not only all the communication UMG had with the Grammys, or about promoting the song for a Grammy win or a nomination, because if you guys don't remember, the song was nominated 5 times at the Grammy Awards and it won all 5 awards. But Drake is also requesting all communication about the content of Grammy footage, including the clip mentioned in the lawsuit. And that's a clip of Kendrick Lamar going up to accept one of his awards for Not Like Us, and in the background they were playing the song and everyone in the crowd was singing it in the footage at the Grammys. But then the footage mysteriously removed the actual song from the footage. So first, when you see Kendrick Lamar go up to get his award, Not Like Us is playing in the background, everyone's singing along. A couple days later, mysteriously, the song got removed from that video. So you just see Kendrick Lamar walk up to accept the award in complete silence. Drake wants any communication UMG had with the Grammy Awards of removing that song from that video. Stick with me here because these requests only get crazier, like this one here. All documents and communications about choosing and licensing the song for the Super Bowl halftime show, including decisions about censoring or removing lyrics or other content from the performance. Because, if you guys don't remember, in Kendrick's Super Bowl performance, he says before he plays Not Like Us, I want to play their favorite song, but I know they love to sue. And when he sings the song, he removes the word PDF. Drake here wants any communication UMG had with the Super Bowl about potentially censoring some of the lyrics before Kendrick went up to perform it. They also want all documents showing how Interscope's CEO, John Janik, was paid and how his yearly bonuses were structured over the last 5 years. Because of course, being the CEO of a certain record label that UMG owns, UMG gave John Janik specific bonuses and incentives if the artists under Interscope performed well, right? Like the better that his artists under Interscope performed, the more money John Janik would make. Drake wants to see how that looked in his contracts. Like how much was he incentivized to boost the performance and the success of the Interscope artists? And he wants not just John Janik, the CEO's bonus incentives, but all of Interscope's 2024 bonus metrics, targets, forecasts, and performance results. So anything that Interscope had planned with UMG in 2024 in terms of how they would be compensated if their artists did well, Drake wants to see that. He also wants all documents and communications about the May 7th armed attack and the May 8th and 9th trespassing attempts at Drake's home in Toronto. So anytime UMG spoke about that behind the scenes, Drake wants to see those interactions. He also wants to see all their communication about any objections or concerns that they had over Not Like Us or its cover art or music video, all the communications they had about promoting the song on Spotify and Apple Music, what they spent to actually make the song and music video, and what they spent each and every month to promote the song. And that brings us into Exhibit C of what the Sexy Red Stunt Double rap battling studier is now requesting from UMG.
I study rap battles for a living.
Alright, so Exhibit B starts off with one of Drake's lawyers emphasizing that they disagree with UMG's responses to Drake's initial document request, but that both sides did agree to keep working together during the discovery phase where Drake's legal team is, in search of these documents, especially in the process of picking whose files they're actually going to search. And one of the big issues is text messages. UMG wants to block any redactions of bundles of text, so UMG essentially wants to show everything in the text messages. They don't want to block anything. When something is being put forth to the judge to review, in this case, if it's a text message conversation as evidence, none of that conversation should be blocked. But Drake's team says that phones, especially celebrities, have a lot of personal, unrelated stuff, so they propose that both sides can redact irrelevant content in the text message conversations, but must leave enough context to understand the information that is relevant. Drake's team also says that they requested text messages between 28 different people associated to UMG, but UMG only came back to them with communications involving only 5 of these people. One of them I thought was interesting, Steve Birdman, who's the Interscope vice chair, and he's involved with approvals and complaints and is linked back to the 2025 Super Bowl halftime show planning. They also want to clear the air on the definition of payola in this lawsuit and basically come to terms on what they think a fair definition for this word should be, because again, Drake's team is accusing UMG of using payola on the song Not Like Us. So Drake's team here is saying this is what we think payola means, and can you guys just agree essentially? And what that definition is paying or offering value to get more airplay on radio stations without telling the station management. And without telling the station management, then the listeners of radio can't be disclosed that this song is essentially being played illegally, right? Like payments are being made under the table to overplay this song on radio, and radio listeners will have no idea. They then go on to show how back in May, Drake's lawyer wrote to UMG's lawyers and they objected to UMG's refusal to search the files of certain high-level executives at the company. UMG was basically refusing that the following people should be allowed to be searched in this lawsuit. And that would be Annie Lee, Avery Lippman, Boyd Muir, John Janik, again, he's the CEO of Interscope, Lucien Grange, who's the CEO of UMG, Monte Lippman, and Steve Birdman. UMG says they shouldn't be searched because they're top executives, and Drake's team is saying there's no legal rule that exempts executives from having their documents reviewed, and each of these people likely has important information for the case. For example, Lucien Grange and John Janik and the Lippman brothers allegedly approved or failed to block the release of Kendrick's Not Like Us song. John Janik and the Lippman brothers also allegedly had financial incentives to promote the song. Lucien Grange, the CEO of UMG, and several other members that Drake's legal team has listed here also allegedly kept approving or promoting Not Like Us after knowing from Drake that it was harming him. And all of them likely took part in contract talks with Kendrick Lamar and Drake. They also emphasized that Lucien Grange was celebrating at the Grammys as the song was being played, even though he knew from Drake that the song was causing harm to him. And they end this portion off by asking UMG to confirm that they'll start collecting all the documents related to these executives. AKA, they want to pull all the files of Lucien Grange and everyone high up at UMG. And this next part's very interesting. Remember how Drake's team emphasized to the judge that during this discovery process where UMG was going to hand Drake's team over all this information, UMG and Drake's team were working together to make this process a little more smooth. So they had some conversations back in May about when these documents would be handed over. And in those conversations, one of the things that came up was UMG asked Drake's team why they wanted the search term GNX. Because again, they're looking for basically any sort of information, social media posts, text message conversations, anything, like we said earlier in this video, related to specific search terms, like Not Like Us, the Super Bowl, Kendrick's Children, Day Free, GNX. So one of them, UMG said, why do you want to know about GNX? Drake's legal team said that because Not Like Us wasn't on Kendrick's GNX album, they want to know if UMG had a role in the decision of leaving it off the album. UMG said they would check if they did have communication about that, but they now refuse to run that check without explaining why. UMG also told Drake's team that all the communications about payola, or I should say all the complaints that UMG gets about payola, go to a specific department at the company, and that department found no complaints about payola for the song Not Like Us. Drake's team here wants to know how they exactly searched for whether or not there was payola going on for the song. UMG is saying, we searched this department and they said there was no claims of payola. They also want to know how exactly UMG's database for their marketing dollars and budget is labeled. Does it go on a track-by-track basis, like how many marketing dollars were distributed for each song? UMG came back to Drake's team and said they checked a central database for discretionary marketing funds and they found nothing. And they capped this part off by essentially emphasizing that Lucien Grange, the CEO of UMG is the final decision maker when it comes to publishing and promoting music that could get UMG sued. UMG, on the other hand, objects to this, claiming that Lucian Grange lacks relevant documents to this case. But anyways, regardless of what Lucian Grange has or doesn't have pertaining to this case, Drake is demanding egregious documents from UMG. So let's break down what the rap battle studier is requesting.
I study rap battles for a living.
So before we get on with this, Drake's team defines a couple more key terms. The first one being allegations. And in this case, what allegations means is any claim or rumor, whether presented as fact, opinion, joke, or exaggeration, that says or suggests Drake is a convicted PDF, has been charged with an S crime, engages in S acts with A minors, should be registered as an S offender, hides S offenders at his home, hangs out with known PDFs, or that Kendrick Lamar knows something about these claims. And it's strategic to label any of these claims or rumors as jokes because, again, UMG was initially stating that Not Like Us was hyperbole, right? It was exaggerated truth or could almost be seen as a joke. Drake's legal team is saying it doesn't matter if it was a joke. Kendrick said it, and Drake's feelings are hurt. There's also the term artificial streaming, which is any way of faking or boosting song play counts, like bots, click farms, fake playlists, etc. Bots are software that acts like a real social media or streaming user, but it's not a human. And whitelisting, which we discussed before, which is allowing someone to use copyrighted material without blocking it or charging them. Alright, so now let's get into every document that Drake is requesting, and there are 70 plus of them, so don't forget to smash the like button. The first request is every document or message from January 1st, 2009 to now about the allegations. And remember, they defined the allegations as essentially anything referencing Drake being an S offender, hanging out with S offenders, belonging on an S offender list, being a PDF, etc. So Drake here wants any sort of document that UMG has since 2009 about any accusations pertaining to Drake potentially allegedly being a PDF. And he's doing this to show like, hey, look, obviously I'm not a PDF, right? Like even UMG's documents are stating I'm not a PDF, but still they released a song which is singing about me being a PDF. They also want anything given to UMG's board of directors that mentions the song Not Like Us, its music video, the cover art which pictures Drake's house, the allegations about Drake being a PDF, earlier legal actions that Drake filed, or this lawsuit. So anytime the board of directors at UMG essentially discusses anything related to Not Like Us or to this lawsuit. The next document is all documents or messages about social media posts involving Drake, Kendrick Lamar, the allegations, the earlier legal actions Drake filed, this lawsuit, Not Like Us, the Grammys, or the Super Bowl halftime show. They also want records showing every social media account UMG controls that posted or shared anything about these topics. And remember, UMG owns media platforms like Complex. They want any analysis UMG did or hired someone to do about social media activity or engagement connected to these topics, all records about deleting or removing UMG's own social media posts about these topics. And when I say these topics, of course, again, I'm talking about Not Like Us, Drake's lawsuit, the Grammys, the Super Bowl, etc. Because you'll have Complex that will make posts about Drake's lawsuit or about the Super Bowl. They want to know every time UMG posted about that or deleted posts about that. And this one's interesting. They want all documents or messages about posts or comments by Greg Marella, sorry if I'm mispronouncing his name, especially about the deletion of all his posts from Instagram around March 25th, 2025. Again, keep in mind, Like That, the song that started this whole beef, came out on March 26th. Greg Marella was promoted to a high up position at Interscope Records in around March of 2024, and he deleted all of his posts off of Instagram quite recently. And one of them had said, Kendrick Lamar is an icon. If you love music and understand and respect what it represents, then you know how important Kendrick Lamar and his music are to LA. The last 2 months have brought 12 million people in LA together at the same time. And that post was made in June of 2024, after this beef already happened. Then he wiped his Instagram clean. This is a guy who, again, is high up at Interscope, and Drake is now requesting any documents or text messages about Greg's posts on Instagram and about the deletion of all his posts off of Instagram. They also want, from January 1st, 2020 until today, all the records about A, anyone telling UMG to censor or change a song or music video that UMG controls because of the content in that song or music video, and decisions not to license, publish, or promote a song/video that UMG controls because of the content within it. Because again, after this battle, Drake went to UMG and said, hey, delete Not Like Us. Obviously, UMG did not do that. They kept promoting it. So Drake wants, since 2020, all records of UMG either censoring music or being requested to censor music. This one's pretty crazy. They also want, from January 1st to May 31st, 2018, all records about anyone telling UMG to censor or change any Pusha T song/video, including the story of Adin because of its content, and B, decisions not to license, publish, or promote any Pusha T song or video, including the story of Adin, because of its content. So basically, anytime someone told UMG to censor Pusha T, and anytime UMG actually decided to do so. And if you guys don't know, Pusha T, in his recent rollout for his latest album with his brother, he was saying that UMG had censored a bunch of his verses that were taking subliminal aim at Drake after the beef had ensued. And the story of Adin was taken off of YouTube due to a copyright claim from UMG because it used the beat of the story of OJ, a song by Jay-Z. Pusha T had essentially accused Drake of playing label games trying to censor him anytime he tried to take a shot at Drake. Drake here is trying to turn that around, probably because he knows that UMG really did censor Pusha T back then, to say, hey, you guys censored Pusha T back then, but you refused to do so with Kendrick, so why did you censor one artist but not the other? They also want documents showing UMG and Interscope's monthly revenue and profit from Not Like Us, both the song and the video. So basically all the money they made off Not Like Us. Because he's trying to concoct the narrative that, like, hey, back then, you guys censored Pusha T because I was more of your profitable artist, but now, Not Like Us was making you tons of money, so even though I came to you and said, this song is harming me, you didn't protect me as your artist, you continued to exploit Not Like Us to make more money off of it. This one's crazy also to ask for. Documents showing the value of Kendrick Lamar's entire music catalog from January 1st, 2020 until right now, including any valuations UMG did, hired, or reviewed. Basically, Drake is trying to see how profitable Kendrick has been for UMG for the last 5 years. He's also requesting internal UMG records about renegotiating Drake's contract or negotiating a new one from August 1st, 2023 until now, including talks about UMG's leverage over Drake, the value of his music catalog, costs of extending or making a new deal, and messages with Jim Ropo. Jim Ropo is the president of Republic Records, which is a division under UMG, and that's the division that Drake has been signed to. So he wants basically all the records that UMG has about negotiating Drake's new contract, renegotiating his last one, the type of leverage UMG had over Drake, how valuable his catalog is compared to Kendrick's, and messages with the president of the label he signed under. He's also asking for all records about negotiating Kendrick Lamar's current contract with UMG from January 1st, 2023 until May 4th, 2024. And that's important because May 4th was the day before Not Like Us was released, and of course, 2022 was the last time Kendrick was releasing albums on TDE. After that, he went independent with PG Lang, but they did a licensing deal with UMG, so Drake wants to see, before Not Like Us came out, what did your negotiations with Kendrick Lamar look like when you guys had just signed him with PG Lang? They're also asking for all documents or messages with the NFR Podcast and their host about Not Like Us, the cover art, the video, the allegations made in the song, earlier legal actions that Drake took, or this lawsuit in general. Basically claiming NFR was in cahoots with UMG. And if you notice recently, NFR Podcast's Twitter had actually got removed. I don't know what the hell's going on, but Drake is trying to burn everything down. He also wants records showing every license granted for Not Like Us, including on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, the ESPY Awards, the Pop-Out Concert, Kamala Harris's 2024 rally, and the 2024 Democratic National Convention, because the song was played at both of those political events, and of course UMG has to license the song to those events for it to actually be able to be played. He's also requesting for all records about his own song, The Heart Part 6, and from January 1st, 2009 until now, all records about Drake's criminal history or the fact that he has none, including background checks or reports. And this is where it gets disgusting. Request 50. From January 1st, 2014 until now, all records about allegations of domestic violence, violence against women, or other violence by Kendrick Lamar. basically any sort of record that UMG has about allegations made against Kendrick Lamar for violence against women. And this is where it gets even more disgusting. Request 51. From January 1st, 2019 to the present, all documents and communications relating to David Isaac Freiley, aka Dave Free, and his relationship with Kendrick Lamar Duckworth and Kendrick Lamar Duckworth's children. This is not Drake telling the judge, hey, I want to know Kendrick Lamar and Dave Free's private conversations about Kendrick's children. This is Drake saying, I want any record of UMG since 2014 discussing any allegations that Kendrick has about violence or records UMG has about Dave Free and his relationship with Kendrick and Kendrick's kids. Drake really wants UMG to bring forth any evidence about them knowing anything about Kendrick's kids and his relationship to Dave Free, and any history that he has allegations related to violence. And what do you think this is all for? This is all masking this grand defamation lawsuit in the cover-up of the real fact that this is Drake's desperate attempt to extract whatever he could from UMG to try and show the world that they knew that everything he said in his diss song Family Matters was valid. All the abuse allegations he made on that song, all the allegations he made about Dave Free being the father of Kendrick Lamar's son. He's doing everything he could in this battle, in this legal battle, not rap battle, to prove that UMG knew that this could be true. Now you could say he's only asking for this information to show the judge, hey look, Not Like Us was clearly defamation because UMG released the song and they had no proof that I actually was a PDF, but the song is claiming I'm a PDF. Meanwhile, UMG also released my song Family Matters, so the judge could say, hey, didn't you guys both participate in defamation? But Drake here is trying to extract information from UMG to show that there's records of them knowing that Dave Free might have been the father of the kids. Kendrick might have had some abuse allegations. And with that, Drake could say, look, I didn't make any defamative claims because my claims were true. Kendrick did have these allegations. Dave Free was really the father of these children. He wants to know now any communication that Dave Free and Kendrick have had that UMG is aware of about the relationship of Dave Free to Kendrick's kids. And with that, he can show the world, hey, I wasn't lying in Family Matters. See, Family Matters aged better. There was truth to that song. So I won the battle. This isn't about saving the industry. This is not about making it a safer space for other artists. At this point, I don't even know if this is necessarily an attempt to make it so that in the future, rap disses can't be released by major record labels if they have any sort of defamatory claims. I think this is Drake trying to play round two to show the world, like, when it's all said and done, what will come out in this courtroom, the documents I'm forcing UMG to give me, will prove to you guys that Kendrick really did have abuse allegations or Dave Free was really the father of these children. And all I could say is that if this information does end up getting disclosed to the public, and if it comes out that all of this stuff was BS, everything that Drake was looking for was BS, Dave Free has no relation to Kendrick's kids, Drake is going to look like the biggest idiot in hip-hop history, if he doesn't already. This lawsuit is now being taken to levels far beyond Drake's feelings simply being hurt by a diss song. It's now about Drake's desperate year-plus long attempt at trying to reshape the narrative of this battle through legal filings. He's showing the world, if I can't make you guys love me from my music in this rap battle, I'm going to take it to court to prove to you guys that what I said was facts. And Drake better be confident in this because, I mean, of course, let's try to be as unbiased as possible. If it does come out that these allegations were true that Drake made in Family Matters, and it comes out through this lawsuit, yes, it does cast a new light on the entire narrative of this beef. But if you had to go through these type of lengths to get this information, if you had to not only sue your record label, but invade Kendrick Lamar's financial privacy, familial privacy, rip through this guy's entire life, all for your self-serving ego, it shows the type of person you are. It shows that you shouldn't have participated in this rap battle to begin with because you couldn't handle the outcomes that it came with. And you have to think to yourself, right? Kendrick and Dave Free continue to grow PG Lang together to this day. Whitney was not only in the Not Like Us music video, but so were their children. She was at the Pop-Up concert. She's been supporting Kendrick Lamar throughout this entire battle and afterwards. Do you think that if he really abused her, if Dave Free was really the father of these kids, that Dave Free and Whitney would still be in Kendrick's life, that he would bring them in the music video, have them continue to do projects with him? You think if Kendrick really abused Whitney, that she would still be around? And does this even make Drake look better in the eyes of this rap battle if this information does come out to be true? I said this entire time, I very rarely cover anything related to familial issues and allegations made within this battle. Not just on Kendrick's side, but Drake's as well. I never investigated if he really had a fake daughter, if he was really a PDF. We've never done that on this channel for the specific reason of it was a rap battle. Crazy things were said on both sides. Drake instigated the crazy shots and allegations being thrown out. He was the one who started with that. Kendrick Lamar, during and after the battle, kept it strictly focused on the music, on the moments, on the concerts, while Drake is still out here sending shots on records, dissing at his shows, and a year and a half later, suing and demanding UMG hand over any documents they have that could be related to Kendrick's personal life and the relationships that he has with not just Dave Free, his business partner, but with his spouse and kids. All for what? You're invading this man's privacy to what? Prove that what you said in a rap battle is true? That was hip-hop. And this lawsuit is the least hip-hop thing you could do. In my opinion, this is still, regardless of the outcome, a lose-lose situation for Drake. Because think of the measures you had to take to get this information to come to light, even if it does end up being true. Like I just said though, Whitney being at the pop-out, being in the music video, being around Kendrick this entire time, same thing with Dave Free. It's very, very unlikely that any of this is true, which makes it all the more insane that Drake could be so convicted that these allegations are true that he's going to these lengths to try and prove them a year and a half after this beef is settled. I don't want to hear from a single Drake fan ever again that Kendrick Lamar or any of his fans are the ones dragging this beef. There's only one individual who is forcing the world to continue talking about not just Not Like Us, but this entire rap battle in general a year and a half later, and that is none other than Labrianna. And I mean, really, if you want to look at this from Drake's angle or Drake's fans' perspective, he's looking desperately for a W here, right? Because obviously, if somehow it comes up that UMG is able to retrieve documents that show that they were aware of some sort of abuse allegations that had Kendrick's name on them, or some sort of communication they had that they were aware of some sort of strange relationship between Dave Free and Kendrick Lamar's kids, that this would make Family Matters look like the only truthful diss track, right? Because Not Like Us had the PDF claims, and Drake is trying to show in this lawsuit he's not a PDF. Meet the Grams with the fake daughter. Everything Kendrick said was fake. Everything Drake said was true. Even with that, even if that was the case, right, you're not going to win over the millions, hundreds of millions of people who watch Kendrick perform that song on the Super Bowl stage. It's not going to be amplified and blown up on a global mainstream level like it was when Kendrick won all those Grammys, did the Super Bowl, did his stadium tour, had a #1 album, multiple #1 singles back to back. The mainstream has already seen how this beef played out. You're not going to win over core hip-hop fans because they're looking at the angles and measures you've taken to get this information through a lawsuit over a diss record, and that will forever be unforgivable. The most damage you could do if everything here plays out in your favor and you get some sort of information that Kendrick Lamar was involved in some abuse allegations is the fact that your fans in their little echo chamber will continue to celebrate a delusional win that they think you have. And yes, many people will go on to think Kendrick Lamar is a horrible person for abusing a woman. That's in the 0.01% chance that this is true, and that UMG has access to any information that proves that this is true, right? Because let's say it even was true, do you understand how low the possibility of it being not just that all the allegations Drake made in Family Matters were true, but that somehow UMG secretly had access to the information proving it's true? He's not here legally requesting documentation from Kendrick or Dave Free themselves to prove that these allegations are true. He's asking for whatever UMG has about knowing a tie that Dave Free might have to Kendrick's kid, or any ties that Kendrick might have to abuse allegations. I don't know if I'm making sense here. It's very rare that not only these allegations are true, but that somehow UMG has access to information that proves this is true. And so it still begs the question, what is Drake looking to gain from this lawsuit? He's taking the massive risk of going up against a corporate giant, a multi-billion-dollar corporate giant, putting everything on the line to try and just see if they have any proof that any of the allegations he made in Family Matters were true. I understand Drake is a gambling man with stake, but this is like a ridiculously delusional gamble to take. You're not now just destroying your public perception for suing over a rap battle, but you're going to destroy your public perception even further by showing the world that you're willing to pry through Kendrick's private information that somehow his record label would have access to. All to what? Prove to the world that UMG was part of this plan to destroy Drake while building up Kendrick, knowing Drake wasn't a PDF but Kendrick was an abuser? This is insane, but let's continue going on. He also wants, from August 1st, 2023 until now, all records about whitelisting, aka allowing certain uploads without blocking copyright restrictions, onto YouTube or Twitch for songs/videos including First Person Shooter, Like That, Push-Ups, Euphoria, Family Matters, and Meet the Grams. He wants to see if UMG whitelisted any of those songs like they did with Not Like Us. He also wants all records about using bots, fake streams, or similar tactics for Not Like Us on any platform, hourly data for streams and plays, completion rates, skip rates, play lengths for Not Like Us on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, and YouTube Music. Basically, he's trying to see how successful Not Like Us truly was. He can't believe that it really was the hit that it was. He also wants all messages that UMG had with Kendrick Lamar or his team about the meaning of Not Like Us, including lines like, "Say Drake, I hear you like him young, you better not ever go to cell block 1, make sure you hide your little sister from him, certified lover boy, certified PDF," a bunch of the lyrics basically in Not Like Us, trying to see if UMG had any direct communication with Kendrick's team about these specific lyrics. Oh, and in the music video, the hopscotch image, the caged owl, and the shipping containers. They continue badgering Lucian Grange, the CEO of UMG, arguing he was directly involved in publishing Not Like Us, the music video, etc., while knowing the accusations against Drake in the song were false, and that he played a role in marketing decisions pertaining to the song, and received Drake's legal denials in 2024. They're requesting some more ridiculous documents, like all documents or messages about UMG employees using their own Spotify accounts to stream Not Like Us, and that's not limited to anything about all meetings with UMG's marketing team where people were told, asked, instructed, or otherwise encouraged to use their personal Spotify accounts to play the song on repeat, and then they would be paid back for any costs or fees doing so. I could be misunderstanding, but I believe what he's saying here is that Drake's legal team thinks UMG's marketing team was told to play the song on repeat and that UMG would pay them back for any costs they incurred by continuously playing the song. Then they go on to attack some more content creators, asking for all documents and messages about any payments made by Ramon Alvarez Smikle, again the head up at Interscope Records, directly or indirectly, to the NFR Podcast to promote anti-Drake content and to post positive comments about Kendrick Lamar in the podcast's comments section on any social media. This includes but isn't limited to any investigations, reports, complaints, analysis, or similar materials about this topic, basically implying that UMG paid NFR Podcast to promote anti-Drake content and positive Kendrick Lamar content on their page. If you go check, I don't know if he still does, but Drake used to follow NFR on Instagram. I don't see why he would follow them on Instagram if he believes they were really peddling that much anti-Drake content. They're some of the most biased content creators I've ever seen. They barely even touch on the beef, and I even remember watching them, and they were saying that they didn't think Euphoria was all that great. This was before Not Like Us came out. They thought Drake was still very close in the lead. I don't see where Drake's legal team is going with this, requesting all info and communications UMG had with NFR. But by far the most ridiculous content creator related thing in this lawsuit is that they're requesting all documents and messages about the person or people using the Twitter account with the handle ScrewfaceJohn and the email address screwfacejohn@gmail.com. Basically saying that UMG was in talks with ScrewfaceJohn, and this is absolutely insane. Also for the fact that most of the discussing Screwface did about the beef wasn't even on his email or his Twitter, it was on his YouTube, right? And I get it, UMG would have communicated with him through email, not through YouTube obviously, but it's interesting because on YouTube he did talk about how when the whole lawsuit initially came out and Drake's legal team was saying how, you know, UMG whitelisted the copyright of Not Like Us so that reactors can react to the song on their YouTube pages, Screwface was the one saying that he actually was able to react to Drake's diss records, I believe it was Push-Ups and The Heart Part 6, without getting any copyright strikes. He was showing that it wasn't just Kendrick's songs being whitelisted, but it was also Drake's. And I mean, if you check his Twitter right now, he's laughing this off, right? Which shows you again how unprepared I think Drake's legal team was in this whole thing and how desperate they are to just dig for information like info on Dave Free and Kendrick's kids or communications UMG had with Screwface John, because Screwface John is literally on Twitter right now laughing about how they're requesting any UMG communications that he had with them, showing you that this isn't likely Drake's legal team knowing something that the world doesn't about how tied into Kendrick's life UMG really is and the secret info they know about conspiracies about him being an abuser or Dave Free being the father of his kids. This is more just Drake being like, hey, I'm going to grasp at all straws and pull every little piece of info I could to try and concoct the best form lawsuit that I could. And now it's up to a judge to determine whether or not UMG has to really hand over all these documents. And if they do, I'm very curious how in any way this is going to look good for Drake in the slightest. Do you think UMG really had secret information about Kendrick allegedly abusing anyone or Dave Free fathering his child? You think of all entities, of all people in the world, it's going to be the higher-ups at UMG storing this information? I don't know about that, but let me know what you guys think, and I will catch you in the next one.